Can you make it fucking feel real?
Hey, Max.
Max?
We're in the spirit world.
What is your spirit animal?
Hey.
I gave a signal.
Oh, you did? Okay. Hey, everyone. It's welcome to Let's Get It On. Here's the deal.
Here is the deal.
Where you at?
This is the Here's the Deal podcast, the Max Baker Jr. story, episode 45.
Ding, ding.
We made it 45 episodes, Max. Almost 1 year of episodes.
July's 1 year, you know. Like I said, let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
You know. I didn't come this far to lose, 45.
So this episode's going to be a little bit different than some of our other episodes. In this episode, we are going to pay tribute and our respects to some of our fallen brethren over the years who have worked in this business, especially worked with you over the years. We got to talking about it the other day with the episodes with Robin and Lisa McGinnis about the people who are no longer here, who were characters and big parts of the Baker Boys story and your story and what you do, you know. And there's the obvious ones to me with John Paul or Pope, Zach Higgins, you know, there's some of those, but there's ones that were a part of you and Jeff's story when I wasn't around. And then there's ones where like Ron Simpson, I knew him just in passing, but I more so knew Little Ron, you know, from him and Austin running around outside of the Diamond Ballroom or the Zoo Amphitheater while you guys were working. Yeah, while you guys were working.
Yeah, they were just little kids.
Yeah.
Little kids.
Little kids growing up in this world. You know, so yes, you know, I do want to take time to do a tribute and honor. You know, this is just me talking, not from any bullshit, from my heart. And when I was 5 years old, my parents, we had moved into a town over here on city on the south side of May Avenue. And at the age of 5 years old, my dad bought me a 50 mini trail, you know, riding around in the neighborhood. And I met this other kid that had a mini trail 50 Honda. His name turned out to be Ronnie Eugene Simpson. And we had met at the age of 5 years old.
Ronnie Gene Simpson.
Ronnie Gene.
We knew you were going to mix it up.
See,
I said, well, you know, I'm trying to hide his name because he never wanted his full name told. And
you realize if you two had those 50s today, how much they are worth. You know, those things are collector's items now.
Yeah,
I mean try to buy one.
I saw a lady riding one the other day on 89th. They did a remake of them.
But those original ones are worth a ton
you know, my
of
dad,
money.
you could do the bars and he'd put them in the trunk.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned how to ride a motorcycle at 5. And then I had a buddy who had a motorcycle. He was 5. We became friends in the neighborhood. And, you know, we're same grade, pretty much on the same football team, same baseball team, you know, Cub Scouts with my mom being the den mother. And, you know, as it grew older, but then when it became 5th grade with Ronnie, you know, he also, the one thing that he did that I did at an early age was I had one of them record players that you could walk around like a briefcase.
I remember those.
And had a roll of 45s on that tube.
Right.
And, you know, we'd ride around, I mean, bicycle, walk, but he had the same thing. So that's where our kind of love.
That was before Walkmans.
Yeah, that was a Walkman.
But it was a Walk 45.
In the 60s, it was a Walkman.
Right.
And so, you know, as time wore on, I can remember we were probably in the 3rd, 4th grade, and might have been the 5th, but they were having a talent show. So me and Ronnie decided that we were going to have a band. And
you're how old?
We were in the 4th or 5th grade, maybe 8, 9 years old. And we were going to do Johnny Be Good. This is before we decided somehow or another we got instruments, but we were going to wing it and and fake it,
Right.
And so today they call it lip syncing. And
Milli Vanilli,
no,
whatever.
today they call it lip syncing, and bands like Motley Crue and Kiss and all these other bands that out there get up and play, hit the track.
Now they call it a normal concert performance.
Right. It's an audio track.
But I remember the
Vocal
time
track.
when Milli Vanilli got completely canceled
Yeah.
because of it.
Absolutely.
So very few do you see guys like Chris Stapleton, Charlie Crockett, Ryan Bingham playing real, But anyway, back to Ronnie. So me and Ronnie, we get out there and we do our thing, and we got banned.
Did you even know all the words to Johnny B. Good?
Yes, we got banned. I mean,
Banned for
it was
Don't lie.
it was like the Gong Show.
Don't lie, you guys did my ding-a-ling.
No, we got banned.
You got banned.
Yeah. So then I moved away and, went to another school, started 6th grade somewhere else.
They ran you out of town because of that performance?
No.
Oh.
It just,
It was the ticket selling scheme he had going on out front that they ran him out.
Back then in the Great American, you got a house, then you got a family, you moved up, you're proud of that house, and then you sold and moved into a bigger house. I can remember my dad when I was a little kid driving around on Sundays looking at homes.
My parents did the same thing.
And so, we moved away from that neighborhood, and I kind of lost touch of Ronnie, and then as it came to where you're driving, and plus I went on to race motocross. He went on to race flat track. And he was, there's nothing like watching somebody go down the straight and turn left and put their foot down at about 80.
I never knew that. I never knew that Ronnie. Did flat track.
Yeah, he was a very, very good. He was fast. Couldn't
that's-
motocross, just like I couldn't ride flat track.
Man, the flat trackers are a totally different breed
there's
of
an
people.
art to it. There's an art to it.
Yeah, because you have your foot down the whole time and sliding that
but
bike.
that's how we still remained in contact. And then when we got to driving, driving around, there were all these game rooms and pool halls and beer bars on the south side.
You don't say.
Foosball centers, Long Branch Saloon, Gold Rush. And we would run into each other in the parking lots, it just, that was a place to be. And
I can't tell if this is an episode of Miami Vice or the A-Team.
A little of both.
So then, as time went on, he got married, I got married. We kind of lost touch with one another. Went on years on down the road, and so started working concerts again. So got into the concert business and all of that, and and I'd see him in passing. He worked for Lady Lights and some of the others. I didn't really work on that things, and I was just getting into promotions. But then as it came on and I got into, once the Fabulous Baker Boys established themselves in around 94, we started looking for work. We didn't really, we would just do concerts and didn't really go big until casinos was passed and gambling was allowed in Oklahoma. And I saw an opportunity, me and my friend Brad White, to start a business and help these Indian gaming centers do some entertainment. And, it turned into something that I could never, ever imagine. But, I was starting to get asked, okay, we could get the shows. Now you got a show. Now you got a writer. Now you're in Miami, Oklahoma, and you need runners. You need stagehands. You need catering. You need merchandise. You need all the elements of the show that I knew about through doing clubs. But this time I was able to go here, as they say, go big or go home. But the one thing I was lacking is who was I going to put in these positions that I could trust. So I didn't, when you're putting a team together, it's like anything. It's like going and racing motocross to be number one. the Oklahoma Sooners, every time they do spring training, they're going to be number one. It happens with the team that you put together and the people that you know. When coach gives you that position, that's your position, and you're going to ace it. If you don't have that, because you're only good with a team as your weakest link. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, this is what I've learned time and time again. If you get beat, you get beat by where was the weakness.
True.
And so, but as I started looking around, I ran into Ronnie, ran into his wife, Judy, who I grew up with as well. And, they were doing one thing, but at times companies and things, they wasn't digging where they were at. And here I was over here with a new company looking for business. And it just, something merged. We got a deal. Something happened, and he's working with me now. He's, here we are. We've known each other since we were 5 years old, and so what a runner is in the music business on show day, it can make or break the show. If you got a bad runner who wanders off, doesn't know what they're doing, comes back with the wrong shit, and you've got to get an ass eaten out by the tour manager, or it's something that the A artist wants and you can't get it, and they are used to it, and it's just one of those things. But who do you put as runner? So, Big Ron used to be a truck driver, had a good record, had a great driving way. And, plus it's ride or die. I consider Ron Simpson my ride or die friend. How many people out there listening can truly say you've known somebody since they were 5 years old and you're 63 years old?
So what's that? That's 57 years?
And, and they're still there today. Or you're one of the last person. You're one of the last persons to see him alive. Because you had to speak your piece.
Well, there's a story there too.
But yeah, I've heard this story from Jeff, but I want to hear it from you because you in true Max fashion went to go see Ron, sneaking into the place.
Well, let me just give you some stories of why it was. So I had him, and when I would go to do big shows, I had him as a runner. And I mean, I'll just give you some of the ideas of what I put him up to. Okay. Myself, Brad White, we were known for booking Rocklahoma 2007 and Rocklahoma 2008. In 2008, we were, we did the year of, the rebirth of bands. We got Extreme to play. We had one band on our list that was just, we loved the band and we couldn't believe we got the band. The band was named Triumph. They're from Canada. And
three-piece band.
Three-piece band, great band.
They are awesome.
And so some of the things as a production guy and a labor guy, I got a phone call from Triumph people, and this is what they wanted to do. This was their plan. They wanted me to find a place so they could rehearse, because they were only doing 2 shows, one in Sweden and one at Rocklahoma. And so they wanted to rent a venue or rent a storage space where they could rehearse. So here I am sitting. Who's the guy that I think can do this? Because not only that, they needed a driver good for 5 days or however long to be dedicated to them. To be, on
call, their guy.
Yeah. I mean, they were, and plus as a promoter representative as well as me, so I couldn't be there the whole time. So who's the guy? Who's the guy? It's your go-to guy, dude. It's the kid you knew since you were 5 years old. You know what? Let's make some rock and roll dreams, boy, and some history. And so I gave this to Ronnie, and I rented Kane's Ballroom. It happened to be open, which was a unique place in itself, be able to do a rehearsal with Triumph in there.
Did they ever play there?
I don't know. They never played there.
I don't think they did.
But they got it together there, And so away I sent Ronnie off on that job, and he got the band to Rocklahoma and everything. And there was one incident that happened with them, and it wasn't Ronnie and it wasn't me, but it's a different story in itself, and it should be told when the Rocklahoma episodes are told. But just know that a lot of it, and for one crazy reason, and I know why it is because you don't see anything that they ever talked about They see about them reuniting in Sweden Rock, but nothing about Rocklahoma. I got the shit scared out of them.
So why do you give us the whole groundwork to this story and then not tell it?
Well, I'll go ahead and finish it then.
Thank you, Max. We are all thanking you for
everybody's
that.
wanting to know.
Well, we are.
Here's the deal.
I mean, you were doing a hell of a build up there. And
Well,
then you were
here's
just
the
gonna
deal.
Stop.
What happened was
Gave us all blue
they
balls.
they were in a limousine rented by the grounds.
Who they? Triumph?
Triumph was riding in a limousine from their hotel because they didn't want to ride in the van anymore.
Right.
Why didn't they want to ride?
Just the
van
band rode it. It's Triumph. They're going to the show.
Oh, they wanted to
Yeah.
make a big
So,
entrance.
right before the turn-in at Rocklahoma, the DEA and the FBI surround this limousine and arrest the driver for methamphetamine distribution.
Was he actually selling meth?
Listen, but
No, Jay, he was just moving it. That's what distribution means.
But it gets better.
Well, sure it does.
So they detain the limo right there on the grounds turning in
With Triumph in it.
with Triumph in it, who is supposed to go on stage in 5 minutes.
That's when you, as Triumph, you immediately get on stage and go, "We're evading police to play for you tonight."
No.
And get after it.
It's called You Shit Yourself. But what happened was,
They hadn't seen Airheads?
no, what happened was they went on about 10 minutes late. My sister, who was the production manager at the time, Dina
gave him some maple syrup and all was good?
No, the guy wasn't going to budge. I mean, they had been chasing this dude for a minute. And
Not the
they
band.
pi- they
Not the
pi-
band.
Not the band. They picked the time
Okay.
to what they were going.
Serious question here. Did you hire the limousine company?
No,
Okay.
wasn't responsible for that. Limos wasn't my gig in that. Limos, I can speak out. Never limos wasn't my gig. But anyway, back to this. They wasn't going to let the band out. Somehow or another, they talked them out. They got out, let them go. And Scott Fife, one of them, just like the Hank story, had left his boots in the trunk. So we had to get them out of there. And
Did you grab
they
any meth with
they
them?
went on 10 minutes late.
Wow.
But that was Ronnie's gig. After that one was done,
They'd have been better off to stay in the van with Ron.
we would have. But you know what? That was neither here nor there. I'm just saying
Wow.
it was a bad scene. And no one knew about it. You know, it's the things that go on behind the stages that nobody really knows what goes on. All they know is Triumph went on 10 minutes late.
So
Thank God they went on.
Right, exactly.
You know?
there was a record rep for Hollywood Records for a long, long time. From my beginning days in radio in Tulsa all the way through just a couple of years ago. He's been a record rep for this label for that long. His name is John Nicholson. He's from Dallas, Texas. And he is one of the biggest Triumph fans I've ever met in my life. And so much so that he rented an RV in Dallas and drove it to Oklahoma City. And he had planned with Chris Baker, the former PD of the Cat, where I think they followed each other up there, and Baker stayed in the same RV with John, and they were all going to go see the return of Triumph.
It was badass in that field.
And that was the year that the tornado came,
Yeah,
right?
2008, but that was on the good day. That was the first night. And then, so once he was done with that job, I gave him another one. The other one was the band UFO, which was on the Saturday it was either the Saturday or Sunday. I have to check back. But was his job.
Same Rocklahoma.
Same Rocklahoma, 2008. This was his job for UFO. He was to pick them up at the Tulsa airport.
Because were they flying in from Germany?
Listen, what they did was they flew in from overseas, landed. He picked them up, took them to Rocklahoma. They were on the grounds 2 hours before they played, got back in his van. He put them back on the airplane in Tulsa.
Wow, they didn't even stay the night.
They didn't even stay the night.
Wow.
Long enough to do their performance and go on.
Wow.
But when I go back, this is the kind of guy that, when you look to him and say, hey, can you do this? Yes, he could.
No, you never say that. You say, you got to make this happen.
Right.
And then Ronnie would make it happen.
And then he got, when he wasn't doing driving, he was crew chief for some concerts. He had a crew, and he'd always take that crew. And they called it Big Ron's crew. If you rode on Big Ron's crew, whether you were new, old, or whatever, you did it the way he asked. And you know what? He wasn't just being a dick to you; he was teaching you that for a reason. If you took it wrong, it was because you wasn't getting the idea. Because he believed in team just like I do. The reason why we gelled so much together is we knew each other, and he knew what I needed, and I knew what he needed, and just.
But you guys did things outside of working together too. We'd go and just go see shows like you and I do. We started going to concerts when we were very young, right?
14.
You don't say.
And we all did. We all did.
And plus two, he became very monumental. And when I got hurt and wheelchair bound and couldn't drive, and getting me out of the house and taking me in Austin to Dallas to see Iron Maiden, taking me to Dallas to see Guns N' Roses, taking me pretty much anywhere I would like to go.
Didn't you guys go see Black Sabbath, like front row or something?
Let me tell you about Cowboy Candy.
Tell me about Cowboy Candy.
We both grew up on Black Sabbath. And we were going to go see Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath with Ozzy or without?
With Ozzy.
At BOK?
With Ozzy's at the BOK. It was like the second to the last show.
And wasn't that the Rage Against the Machine drummer?
Yes. And so
Josh and I were at that show, and it was awesome.
I went to California.
Oh yeah, like what was it, like 15, 16?
And I bought these edibles that they were called Green Dragon that bring back.
Green Dragon.
Yeah, Green
edibles.
Dragon. I'll never forget it. And so and I had these other tickets. What happened was the Max Luck came through. I scored 2 front row seats. It was Rival Sons and Black Sabbath.
Yep.
And so I scored these 2 front row seats. It wasn't sold in VIP. And I'm like, hey, Ronnie, man, I got these tickets. So he's like, hey, let's go. So I wanted Austin and Dylan to see it. And they took the other tickets I had, which were lower levels. Austin, Dylan, Annabelle, and Annabelle's brother, a guy named Nick, and me and Ronnie. So we get there. We're just like pumped about the seats. And I had these Green Dragon edibles, and I'm just like, when do we eat them, So days. And I swear, I thought I went back to 1975. We chomped on them edibles during Rival Sons, eat them because you didn't want to eat them and then peek out on Sabbath.
You were in the Tony Iommi spirit world.
I was sitting right in front of him.
Doubt.
He gave me a guitar pick. I was looking eye to eye and laughing like the girl.
But he gave you a pick. She didn't get one.
Me and Ronnie were like.
So wait, so you're telling me this was better than the Moody Blues
We were
thing?
in the zone, dude. And, and so it was like the time of our lives. And I'll never forget the people next to me. You could tell who a Sabbath fan is or who might have heard them, and that's the thing about nowadays with people who buy tickets.
Were you sitting next to people who've only heard War Pigs?
I know. I sat next to people that had never heard Black Sabbath.
What?
And bought the tickets
How's that even
because they
possible?
were on the front row and was looking for something to do.
Oh, wow.
And so then those things kick in.
The edibles.
The edibles.
This is the little green dragons.
The green dragons lived up to their name.
And now those
And
people
so, no,
subscribe to the podcast and don't leave their house.
The security guards were looking, you know how like with your, have you ever been paranoid at a show when you look, the security guards are looking at you like they're going to kill you?
Like
Because you're having fun.
That's how Josh feels all the time.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I was a security guard for a while. So.
the way the Moody Blues were looking at you that time.
Man, that was different. That was bad, you know. But me and Ronnie, so we get done, and we get in the car, and all the people in the car get mad at us because we don't know where we're at. We're lost. We're in Tulsa at that Quick Trip.
15th,
Down there in the
15th
bad
in
area.
Denver.
No, it's the bad area off the 244 by the Canes.
Oh, on past the Canes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what I'm
Like,
talking about?
like if you drove
So-
too far. Like if
so,
you went too
yeah.
far.
on Admiral.
Yeah, so we're
At Harvard and Admiral or Yale and Admiral.
We're there.
Right there by the Admiral Twin Drive-In.
No, it wasn't that far. It's just right there. But we're there, and somehow or another, I had to pay somebody.
Huh?
And I tried to, I tried to take my fun and still do business, and it turned out all right.
You're in the wrong part of town,
But
Max.
at the time, you know what? It made everybody in the van mad. And me and Ronnie, all we could do was laugh. And then they say, "Well, y'all know where you're going?" We said, "No." And
but we know where we've been.
So it just, it ended up, he didn't get a drive home, and my son had to take over, and we laughed all the way, But it was
Dylan had to drive you guys home?
It was Sabbath, Sabbath at its finest.
I would like to hear this. I'd like to hear this same story from Dylan's point of view.
So, a couple other things about Ronnie. He was, like I said, he was a runner, and some of the things I would put on him. We decided this was after Rocklahoma and 7 and 8 and 80s was coming, and the casinos were now letting me book 80s bands in the casino, and so there's a place in Woodward, Oklahoma that wanted to have a rock fest, and in Durant they wanted to book a 80s show. So we had Slaughter, I think it was Janie Lane, Janie Lane's Warrant, and might have been Firehouse. I think it was Firehouse. But anyway, we're talking Durant, Oklahoma. Look at the numbers, Durant to Woodward. But a lot of these bands like this, and Ronnie was my go-to guy for whenever I needed airport pickups. Like if they would fly in, play Durant, and they fly into Dallas, he'd be the kid that picked them up, took them in early, This time, he was the guy that picked up, I think he picked up, I want to say, he might have did Firehouse and Lisa did Janie Lane, or vice versa. But we had to go from Durant to Woodward. And then, when we met up in Woodward, it was Warrant, Firehouse, L.A. Guns, and then special appearances by Chips Enough and Steven Adler, and that was, I don't think there's ever been a rock show back in Woodward. And
I blame the med man.
me too. And I got kicked out of the motel 4 a.m.
That's becoming a trend, man. That's becoming a trend for you.
Did you and Ronnie both get kicked out?
Yeah, we had to leave.
How come?
But the one thing here's the cool thing about
Why'd you have to leave?
Steven Adler.
why'd I have to leave? Because Tracy Guns and L.A. Guns and the band Candy Girls and everybody that was there were some were swimming in the pool naked at 3 a.m. Some were a lot of it cake was on the walls and the ceiling. It was true rock and roll debauchery in Oklahoma.
Debauchery.
Whatever, y'all. Hey, and as my go-to guys, that I want to thank you for allowing me to say bad words.
Debauchery's not a bad word.
We just want to make sure that the listening audience knows what word was intended.
It's not saying bad words. It's saying words badly.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, the other thing that I would do with Ronnie is, like I said, have him drive me to shows. And so, I have this love for Charlie Crockett. I mean, it's grown over the last few years, and I've been able to meet the man, talk to the man. He's even
done an intro for
he does an intro for the podcast, and we're not finished. But I wanted to go to Red Rocks, and they had a show. It was Charlie Crockett, Yola, and Orville Peck, the Red Rocks.
That's a pretty wild lineup.
It was a crazy lineup, and it was the first time, So we go up to Red Rocks, and, I purchased these tickets not knowing that, well, I did know because I saw Tom Petty and Joe Walsh there.
Wait a minute, who's on this road trip with you?
Is Ronnie, Spike, and Shay. And so we go, and, the tickets I bought, there's two ADA sections, and I always go for the front. Well, the front turns out to be the first row that, you're looking right at the band. And so, we're all watching Charlie Crockett, and Ronnie had got into this, Are
you saying something that was stronger than the Little Green Dragons?
It was it was a mood altering substance of candy.
Wow.
Goes well on pizza.
It was before cowboy candy was noticed. But anyway, so, we didn't think nothing of it, and we get inside, and this dude starts babbling and losing his mind. And Spike, my friend, he can't take it. And during me, I think it's all funny. So I get up.
So Spike's all serious and Ronnie's laughing.
After Charlie, I went out and sat just to get some air, And that was the first night I'd ever been into a unisex bathroom.
How'd that work for you?
Hey, it was weird. And then, it was and you want to talk about seeing things. So
in the unisex bathroom?
Oh my
gosh.
No,
I'm talking about out the venue.
Thank God you cleared that up.
And if you don't know who Orville Peck is, you should look him up because he's really good.
He played the Jones Assembly.
He did not play the Jones Assembly.
He was scheduled to play.
He canceled the Jones Assembly.
Wow, easy guys.
But the fact of the matter is, he's just has.
I was there at the White Stripes with the green.
That was an odd, because you had Charlie, who's Texas country, you had Yola, who's kind of like gospel, and then you had Orville Peck. And
what is Orville Peck?
He's managed by Shania Twain. Do you know that?
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But, he wears a mask. He's just a juggalo in disguise singing country.
Juggalo country? Is that a genre?
It's juggalo. Possible. It's possible.
We've officially crossed everything.
So anyway, and they were like, my mind was playing tricks on me because you look out there and I saw this person wearing a dress from the backside. And you turned around and had a beard and a mustache, and I was just like, the whole thing. But
those are mountain women.
But nobody could get over the fact, as Ronnie was just babbling, and no condition to drive whatsoever. And so I had to take over the wheel. But it was one of these where I had planned it's going to work out great. We're going to go down there, see the show, turn around, come back. Ronnie, are you in? You're my go-to guy. Yeah. And we ended up in Texas on the way. So
Texas via Red Rocks.
Yes. And, but
that's not a straight line, Max.
But, it was... as you look at back now,
Max took over. That's why.
Oh, that's why they ended up in Texas.
Yeah. I took over.
Yeah.
So how'd you finally get back to Oklahoma? Ronnie had to drive the rest of the way, didn't he?
I made it to 40 and went that way. See, because when you're going to Colorado, there's a way you can go to Wichita and 70 and over.
Right.
Then you got to come back up you got to go back north to go to Red Rocks. Or if you go down Guyman, the trail that never ends, and cut up there.
Yeah.
Or you can go down to Texas and cut up. You save a couple hours if you go the Guyman way.
We used to go to Sturgis that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and if you don't
it's
know,
just a long drive.
Boring drive.
Late at night, if you miss that one turn going there,
you're screwed.
And that's what happens.
There's nothing out there.
You can't turn around.
Nothing out there.
Not even a gas station.
Yeah, mile 1 looks like mile 20, which looks like mile 80. It just never stops.
But hey, it all worked out in the end. We got to at least see the guy still in the front row. My memory of that night, I'll never forget. Him babbling, Spike being mad.
Ron got to have a conversation with everyone at the show.
Why, yes, he did.
So before we end this episode...
Well, I got a couple more that really need to be talked about.
Okay, go for it.
So, the other thing about Big Ron and me, this is the life of a Baker boy. Or, not really, I'll take that back. It's the life of Max Baker Jr. I've always done it. If I'm tour, work, traveling with crews, whatever. Once you get there, once the show is over, we drive. And that's where your ride or dies come in. That's where your people that, there's some people that stay. There's some people that go. I've always been a goer because making money, being in a band, traveling entertainers, once you're in that town and you're done that town, what's left to do? If you stick around, you mess up. If you get out on the road, you make it to your next city, you got a little bit more time to sleep. You got a little bit more time to think. One of the reasons why I have, everybody's like, why ain't you ever gone back out on tour or anything? I can honestly say this as a true Baker boy. This company has been built on being able to leave, go do the job, turn back around, and be home in your own bed. I just tour in a different way. I never leave my state. I do stuff where I go out of town, but me and Big Ron had it down. And I can remember one time at the Choctaw, and it was snowing, and they were saying roads are going to be bad, and people shouldn't travel, and so the later it got, the people from there that I work with, hey man, y'all really going back? Yeah, we're going back. And then they went to my sister, and they're like, hey, we don't think it's right for them to go back, And she looks them all and told them this. Me and Ronnie could hear her say it. If those two boys over there say they're going, there's nothing I can do, you can do, or anybody can do, because they're going. And sure enough, we pulled out of there, we were laughing about where we going, And was it bad? Yeah. Was it snowing? Yeah. Did we go slower? Absolutely. But the further we went coming north, by the time we got to the I-35 and 70, there wasn't nothing but let's get it on, And that's just the kind of guy that he was with me. He's, and for that, my heart hurts that he's gone. I know that he's in a better place. And, when he started getting sick, he stayed out there as long as he could. And, they had to tell me that, hey, something, we can't have him back. He'd fell down or something. And broke my heart to have to have to do this because everybody has to go someday,
Everybody's got a shelf life.
And it's like I see it, and I don't want to be that guy right now. But and then he came in to see me in the office around Christmas time, and somehow you can feel a vibe. It's just like you feel the vibe, and he came in, he looked so good, and it just, I don't know what it was, the spirit was doing something, but it frazzled me so bad in my heart, knowing, man, this is bad. And I laid down in my office because I was freaked out, and I wake up to take a nap. And I wake up to my kid Austin in the room, 2 paramedics, the fireman, asking me what day it was. And, I was shocked.
You're under your desk in the office.
I was under my desk, and everybody thought I fell down there and was dead. And, I was pissed when it was over with.
Well, of course you were, because you were still here.
But and it affected me. And then after the first of the year, he got sick, and
he got a diagnosis after the first year.
Yeah, he went in the hospital, and they would call me and tell me, hey, Big Ron is, not doing so good. You need to come see him and all of that, and it's like, I have a hard time with that.
Well, you got to do things your way.
I mean, I have a hard time with that because people that I've truly cared about. I had an uncle. He passed away when I was young. My grandpa passed away when I was, a teenager. My friend David Huff, but it was like, it's like, you need to do it, but you don't want to do it. And, it's just like when I saw Huff, I knew that when I walked out of it, I'd never see him again. And, sometimes when people tell you, like my mom and people who's real spiritual, hey, you need to see him. Some people do wait on you. And I never really got that. So I started, feeling down. And I knew I had to go see Ronnie. And they went from moving him from one place to another hospital. And so they got him over there, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, just like
after hours.
Just like if we were leaving town, and how I like to go to places. I went in the back door. I sat with my friend for a few hours, knowing that when I walked out of there, it'd be the last time I ever saw him. And within 24 hours, he had passed away. And I mean, if anybody out there's never had a true ride or die friend, or, it doesn't matter what you got. It doesn't matter, sometimes it's good for just people to listen to you, even though you may have a crazy idea and they're telling you, you can do it. I mean, he was that kind of guy. And just, this is his wife, Judy, that I've known since I was a teenager as well. His son, little Ronnie Simpson Jr., I mean, I watched him grow up. He's played with my kids. It's just his daughter.
You ran into his daughter just last weekend in Durant.
Yes. Amy Shipman, she's golden. And they've got a great Amy's got a great daughter named Kenzie, who's a badass basketball player, and I mean, it's just, you run across good people, and good people are hard to come by. And for that being said, Ronnie Simpson, wherever you are, I know you're watching over me, and I love you like a brother. Always have, always will. Rest in peace. You want to do these others?
Yeah, let's see, because I know there's more people on the list.
Another thing, as the Baker Boys and just people in general, people that have crossed my path, people I've grew up with, there's a lot of people in this business that have shaped this business that aren't here today. And, I'm going to go down the list and just name some names of people that all of us at this table know. And, we have our own stories and we have our own things, but, a lot of this wouldn't be here if it wasn't. At one point when I did shows at the other side, I knew this girl named Jen, and she was telling me, "Hey Max, man, I got this kid that if something doesn't happen, I think his mom was like a stripper, and just he didn't really have a chance. And somehow or another, they picked like I was the guy that could do it or whatever. But the guy was a teenager. I think he was 15."
Yeah. I think he was younger than that.
He might have
14,
been younger
15,
than that.
14 or 15. But anyway, I took this kid under my wing. His name was John Paul. They called him the Pope. And
Pope John Paul.
Pope John Paul. And, he lived with me, and we would he'd do shows, and he's just a kid. My kids take a liking to him, And then he started working with, Lady Lights?
He worked for me for years. He
worked
with Lady Lights.
He worked with Lady Lights. He worked at the Diamond.
Worked at Toucan.
But worked at Toucan, and would go and do shows with me and all that. From that, he became a light guru.
You're kind of underselling it. Like, not just a light guru. He may have been one of the best lighting designers and lighting guys in like rock and roll history. And he was young. But whatever it is that lighting guys have to make a show
he had it.
Absolutely fucking incredible. He had it.
He did.
And the music was coursing through this dude's veins.
Through his fingers and onto that light board.
He wasn't going to just work a show for a band.
No, he felt it.
Yes,
he lived it.
Felt it.
And he felt it, and his charisma was golden. And for some reason,
he would dance behind that light board.
For some reason, people took a liking to him. Like, he worked for the Lips. He worked for Marilyn Manson.
Shiny Toy Guns.
Shiny Toy
All
Guns.
American Rejects.
All America Rejects. And usually the light guys and the tech guys have their own rooms in another hotel. The John Paul, the Pope, was like so well that they would ask him to stay in suites.
Dude, John Paul was a bigger rock star than most of the bands he was working with.
But
boy, that's no doubt.
He was just a kid gone way too soon. He did a terrible fall like I did off of a stage. He fell off a ladder. The difference between me and him, and I prayed about it, and I've said it.
Against me, he was on tour with Against Me.
And it's like, hey, he had the same symptoms I did. It's just he went down a different road and he gave up.
Well, I know that. Just like that Hatebreed show, they hurled my ass into the parking lot at the Exit Inn after I tagged that venue with Hope for Pope all over it with Sharpies while I was in Nashville.
I mean, God, rest in peace, John Paul. You're a superstar. You're the reason why the Baker Boys and things like this in Oklahoma still go on. Another one was a guy named Randy Betterton.
Randy.
I'd known him since he was a kid. His uncle, named TL, was one of my dad's best friends. He was like a second dad to me. They were all the ones that always went around looking to see, keep my ass out of trouble.
And who didn't like Randy Betterton?
And Randy went on. He worked with Toucan and just was a very well liked guy. And he got sick.
Yeah, he did.
He got sick, and then. He's another one. Rest in peace, Randy. This next one was like a son to me. He's probably like a son to all of us. His name was Zach Higgins.
Oh, my God, Zach.
Handle It.
Handle it, Higgins.
And
he wasn't like a son to me. We were more like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito and twins.
well, was Zach? Zach was the kind of guy that he was very small, but he was
Waiting.
and but he grew up in it.
Because we knew his dad.
His dad was.
Because what band did his dad work with? Was it
his
ZZ
dad
Top?
worked with his dad worked with Driver Music. What was his dad's name? And he worked with Kenny Phillips.
Correct.
You know, and Zach's dad passed on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
He found him in there working on a soundboard. You know, and I mean, Zach just for whatever reasons, you know, he.
Anyway, let's.
You know,
We got some more names.
You know, so Rick Johnson was another one. Rick Johnson that came from the neighborhood. That,
Rick was there for years.
You know, and Jack Hamilton. Jack Hamilton was Judy's sister. You know, and Ronnie's brother-in-law. You know, Uncle Jack.
Judy was his sister.
Yes,
Gotcha.
I called Jack Motorcycle Man because he rode around everywhere in a motorcycle. Fucked up part about this is he was coming back to go do a loadout on 44th and May, and a Mexican drunk driver crossed the line, hit him. He hit him dead on while he was on his motorcycle. He died. Nothing was ever done about it. You know, sad. A guy named Dennis Patterson. He was back in the day. He was one of the troopers that started it. You know, me and him didn't quite get along, but you know, he was in the business. And,
yeah, he was.
And you know, you had to work for Dennis. Mark Miller was back in the Forte days. Mark Miller was one of the first ones that had ever went out on the road. I used to think
with the national
I
act.
used to think Mark was so cool. I mean,
because he's the first one to make it out. Really.
Who did he go out with?
I know for a fact he gave me passes in Dallas to come watch him work. He was on tour with Lenny Kravitz.
Wow.
It was Lenny Kravitz.
So for real,
yeah,
fucking
no,
made
I'm
it.
talking, yeah. It was Lenny Kravitz, Buck Cherry was on the bill, and somebody else. He worked for them. He worked for Traffic, I think.
Damn.
And he.
I mean, Mark really made it out of Oklahoma.
But
City.
he
was
got
the first one.
but he got all fucked up, and you know he's somehow or another he was on tour with the Cult, and I think they threw him out of the moving car
and fucked
on
him
tour
up.
and fucked him up for good. And it just, you know,
But anyway,
it wasn't. Another one was a guy named Johnny Bray. Johnny Bray is my cousin.
I was gonna say he's your cousin.
He's my cousin. You know, a lot of people make crack jokes about my family when I tell them, "Hey, man, that dude's my cousin. That girl's my cousin."
Well, it's because you say everyone's your cousin.
Because I have a lot of cousins, and it's a big family. You know,
This from your mom's side of the family, right?
yes. And so, you know, with Johnny Bray, some people, the Indian side would always come out. Don't mean that in a bad way, but
Are you trying to stereotype? What are you saying?
no, I'm just saying that Johnny had a drinking problem and couldn't keep in and out of jail, and it all caught up to you.
I think we all have those family
You know.
members.
And so another guy just a few years ago, we called him Big Blake.
That's because none of us can pronounce his last
Yeah,
name.
his last name is very, very long. I used to have to write the check, you know. But with Big Blake, because he was a big guy, bigger than me, but his heart was bigger than Texas. You know, and you know, some days you got along with him, some days you didn't. But he went out in a bad way, you know.
That was a sad situation.
He was trying to reprimand a teenager who lived with him, and the guy decided to shoot him, you know. And I saw his mom today on the phone, on the TV. They let him out, the kid who did it. But, you know, just sadness. Another one is a guy that worked for us named Zach Mann. You know, I mean, it just, you know, sometimes you have a choice. Sometimes you need to speak up. You know, sometimes it's just, it's life. You know, I guess when they say it's your calling, it's your calling. You know, no one to blame. It's just rest in peace, Zach. Another one, my friend, and a badass. As the cat's been all over the guy. The guy should have been bigger than what he was, but he is big. And there's Otis Watkins. Otis.
In fact, the anniversary of his passing's
coming up.
Coming up, isn't it?
But
around now.
Otis was as much of the music scene as, if not more, than a lot of us. I can remember Otis loving to play on the any blues type show.
Listen, I love to watch Otis play. Yeah. I mean, Otis. Otis was awesome.
His bar nights at the Samurai were incredible. You couldn't
even right before he died. The dude could still slay that fretboard, man. Like, still just an incredible entertainer, and could get down.
And if you don't know who Otis Watkins is, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch some of the videos. And
Sorry for you.
Exactly.
Look him up.
Very impressive.
Then another one that Robin had touched on it, and a guy to play Rest in Peace, because honestly, Kenny Phillips and Phillips Sound, when you'd worked with Kenny, you couldn't provide bullshit labor. You couldn't provide. You'd hear about it.
Kenny kept the standards up.
And the other part of it is, it was kind of like a coach. He would tell you when you wasn't doing right or whatever, or he'd complain about it. And his complaints were valid. I would not be in the business where I'm at today had I took all those people that when growing up and doing shows, Jeff can vouch for it as well if he wants to, if I had not taken ass chewings from them and respected them.
Oh, yeah.
And corrected why I got the ass chewing.
Well, Kenny was one of them when we first got into this, and we'd try to act like we knew what we were doing. He's like, son, I was doing these shows back. And he's like, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I've seen you give that speech, Jeff.
Well, I can now, but I couldn't then.
Yeah. Where do you think you learned it, Jay?
Listen, you get called down by a Kenny Phillips or a Larry Schaefer or Jerry Bachman, and you better listen to what they have to say.
Well, hey, listen, they got something going on and you don't, and they're signing your paycheck, kind of, and it's like, it's kind of like today. You take today, for instance, you try to give people honest criticism of people like, why don't you change? Why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? What I've always been taught is, if it's not broken, then you don't have to fix it. If a plan works for you, then that's the plan.
I didn't hire a consultant. I hired somebody to follow.
Well, there's people out there. There's people out there that will take companies and they think that they need to consult you because you're doing it wrong. The only thing about them consultation is they're not showing you how to make any money. They're showing how to get in your pocket. And it's like, what they should have is a paper that says, by you letting me consult you, your value and your worth of your business will go up X amount of dollars. If you can provide that, sign here. Guaranteed. Money back if not.
You've already paid somebody to criticize you. You've been married before.
And then the last but not least, I probably wouldn't be in the entertainment business or doing show business had it not been for Ralph Russell Sr. and Ralph Russell Jr. And, with Robin Alvis given the go to be able to talk to somebody to do something like rent a venue and, lose a lot of money, get yelled at, have the water faucet be boxed up because it's free water, but not today.
Well, when I was writing the description for the episode with Robin Alvis, I was thinking about how many, probably 1,000 shows or more that I've seen at the Diamond Ballroom, and I know you guys have seen, that were, or for me, at least 500 or 600 that were all rock or metal shows. That none of that would have ever happened if it weren't for Power Lord, Ibex, and Legion Marcher convincing Ralph Russell to let them play there.
Now it was truly a turning point for music.
That is Oklahoma music history.
Oklahoma
right there.
City.
City, yeah.
And because you got to look at the city here is different than the city in Tulsa.
Totally.
You know? And with him opening the door, and you say it like that, you know, you say the thousands. Well, think about this. What if your ass was on the line on 1,000 of those shows that have been done? Every time you went in there, it could be your last time.
Yeah.
You know, and times when I did get told it was my last time, and I'd have to come, and then I'd
like to know how you sweet talked your way back in.
You know.
But you know, if it hadn't been for the Power Lord and Ralph Jr. and Senior and Robin and all that,
thank God those metalheads bought some beer.
Well, if they hadn't, we'd all had to drive to Cane's because everything would have been at Cane's.
Right. Yes,
because Larry already had it going on up there. We didn't, and if that hadn't
not a venue
happened,
that size.
Yeah, no. but the flip to Cane's and this is Larry at Cane's had a lot of support.
Tons.
From the community.
Absolutely.
Oklahoma City Diamond Ballroom.
It had a black eye.
It has always had a black eye. Even to this day, it's the longest standing venue in Oklahoma City.
Does not get the respect
and
it
deserves. Does not get the respect that it deserves.
It'll be open 59 years as of November.
You know, and you know what?
This November.
It's there's a lot of history that could be made there and a lot of vintage stuff that could be done there to resurrect the old glory, you know? I mean, yeah, you got other buildings around here being built and all that, but the idea of it is...
They don't have a vibe.
Right.
I was just looking at what time it was.
Oh.
We're good. We're on a good one. But, you know, I mean, other than that, you know, once again, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, Ronnie Simpson, I love you with all my heart. Pope, Randy Betherton, Zach Higgins, Rick Johnson, Jack Hamilton, Dennis Patterson, Mark Miller, Johnny Bray, Big Blake, Zach Mann, Greg Scott, Otis Watkins, Kenny Phillips, Ralph Russell Jr. and Sr. We miss you.
You forgot to say Dave.
Who?
Dave Huff.
And the one and only, the great, the guy that taught me a lot of stuff that to some people didn't matter, but it mattered to me, David Huff Jr.
There you go. So I hope they're not resting in peace. I hope they're rocking in paradise is what I hope.
Well, I just hope that you guys watch over me and the adventures that we do, and you're part of it by up there smiling, laughing, and knowing we're still here.
Oh, you know they're laughing.
Fuck.